Colonization, occupation, enslavement, invasion have greatly affected many peoples of the world. Historical evidences show that invaders inflicted special tortures on the population in occupied territories, committed mass murder, genocides, and crimes against humanity. Such dramatic events were forever etched in the memory of many peoples. The Vietnamese people fell to an invasion by occupiers at different times. The period of French colonization of Vietnam in the late 19th century after gaining control of Ho Chi Minh City in 1859, left bitter memories for the Vietnamese people. During the colonization period, ended back in the 50s, France demonstrated cruelty against the Vietnamese by imposing cruel punishment methods. Concurrently, French policies were mainly focused on the exploitation of natural resources and cheap indigenous labor. Starting from the 1930s, the Vietnamese, oppressed by the violence and looting of the invaders, fought in unity against French invaders. Of course, those who stood up for the freedom and independence were persecuted everywhere by the French colonists. Hoa Lo Prison was used to house majority of those arrested Vietnamese people. Ozartak's special correspondent visited the Hoa Lo Prison, where Vietnamese freedom lovers were detained and tortured, and got acquainted with the bitter traces of France in Vietnam. The prison was originally built to house 450 inmates, but after its territory was enlarged to house 600 inmates, who lived in appalling conditions. Several Vietnamese freedom lovers were put under the guillotine. In 1956, one corner of the original jail has been preserved as a museum. Visitors can now walk through the cells that have been the scene of so much suffering. The models of the people who were put here allow the visitors to visualize their suffering. And the museum dwells on that suffering, going into great detail about torture and barbarous treatment. After seeing the traces of colonialization of Vietnam by France, the country that tries to teach the world about culture and democracy, including the evidence of war crimes and crimes against humanity, a clear picture of that culture and democracy and human rights emerges. Every invasion has an end, as every night has a bright day. As a result of the persistent struggle of the Vietnamese people, France was defeated and forced to withdraw from this country. The Hoa Lo Museum, dealing with French colonialism and crimes committed during the occupation, carries out its mission to inform current and future generations.